praying mantis-looking creature, 8 foot tall, which does come up in lots of abductions, even if you don't hear about it much, appears, and at first she was terrified, and the tall praying mantis put into her mind a sense of deep sadness about her and all humans, and it was accompanied by a sense that this praying mantis was so ancient that it could be as old as our solar system, as incomprehensible as that is, and that these praying mantis are made, programmed to monitor the evolution of life in entire solar systems. The praying mantis has the ability to calm the human's natural fear of the way they look. And what he did next, he walked her into a room nearby and said, "Watch." And now it's a gray type entity. We can get into the distinctions of gray androids that are robots and prime intelligence grays, and that there are all kinds. And now what she's seeing is what I would call more the prime intelligence in the gray category. There is lying a male human, and the gray reaches down. The gray's long 4 fingers just seem to pass through the man's chest. And out of the man's chest, the gray being comes up holding the man's heart and shows it no blood, totally dry, and this particular container of the man's body. It's important that the soul remain inside of such a container for a longer period of time than the man's body is willing to give, because the man is dying of heart disease. And the gray communicates that they are letting this version of the man die. One she recognizes in the tube, which has light above and light below, is a man who looks a little bit younger than the man on the table. Because it is important for the soul spirit inside of this type of container, we are going to revivify him in this cloned body, in this tube that we can preserve and control. And we are going to put him in Australia, and in his home in the United States, he will die.
Vision of Pope Francisco. I was doing early morning prayer, which is a daily devotion for me. For every day I pray at dawn, and it was during the dawn in communion prayer, when I was surrendering that year worshipping the Lord, that I was led to see a clear vision, as if it was happening now. In that moment when I was in the Spirit, I saw the Pope, and I looked and observed what he was doing. He went down as if he was saying a prayer, when suddenly he started to turn into a huge horrible bug. I will try to describe the infernal animal I saw. It was a snake mixed with Laraticha, only that this beast had 4 legs. I watched and I was terrified to see this transformation of the Pope. I saw this beast that was the Pope. I noticed that he seems to be opposed by a huge stone, which was so big. So after the transformation of the Pope, he seems to be stopped by this mysterious stone, and he didn't get very close to the stone, but he kept spinning like a bug. When I observed the face of that beast, I saw that he was extremely furious and very angry. When he was furious against this stone that was restricting his movement and he was powerless, I was wondering what's going on. I saw the beast that was Pope Francis roaring with great fury, and he finally made big move in order to neutralize and annihilate the opposition posed by this stone. And then I heard the word of the Lord saying, "The stone that you see is the church, whose head is the Christ." A moral act. Then the Lord showed me Pope Francis, the President Macron, Putin of the Russian Federation, the Queen Elizabeth, Angela Merkel. The Lord said they are going to adopt laws by which they will impose these abominations all over the world. Then the Lord showed me again in a vision the Queen Elizabeth, She was on the phone talking with Pope Francis. She asked the Pope, "Why is it taking time?" The Pope replied, "There is no more time to lose. The Master has strongly recommended that we act quickly." The Queen say, "Very well, that's the watchword and instruction I have been waiting for. It is necessary to destroy this race of unbelievers." The Pope replied, "Yes, let's kill them, unashamedly. They don't deserve to live. This is not the time to stain them. Let's just kill them immediately without wasting time." Then they burst out laughing sarcastically. I noticed that the Pope was in his white dress with this kind of hats that he often puts on that sticks at the neck, and the Queen of England wore a very light green outfit that was shining. It was sweet green. She had her crown and she exclaimed and kept saying, "I'm thirsty," for she was thirsty for human blood. At this time I noticed that her eyes became red and her teeth and canines have become long. In fact, her canines came out like croc. And on the other side of the telephone the Pope Francis also took another form. He turned to a humanoid animal, that moved with 4 legs, and his whole body was dark gray, and he had his mouth open, his tongue hanging with fangs. After they have both hung up the phone, and both of them rushed to attend a nocturnal meeting, during which there was supposed to be human sacrifices so that they will eat the flesh and drinks human blood. When the earth was invaded by demons who were entering people's bodies, those who watched in prayer and who had an intimacy with God escaped this possession.